This image holds a very disturbing secret. The lady in this photo is Mary Todd Lincoln. Look closely at the hands resting on her shoulders. To her, they belong to the ghost of her murdered husband, Abraham Lincoln. Unfortunately for her, it was all a calculated illusion. Mary was being ruthlessly scammed by a con artist who preyed on shattered, grieving widows. And to her only surviving son, Robert, this photograph was the exact proof he needed to declare her insane, strip away her basic human rights, and lock her inside a lunatic asylum. You probably know the tragedy of the president's public execution, but what you don't know is the dark, buried truth of the First Lady, and the cold-blooded son who decided his own mother was a problem that needed to be caged. To understand the madness, you have to understand the night that broke her. April 14th, 1865, Ford's Theater. Mary Todd Lincoln is sitting shoulder to shoulder with the president. The Civil War is finally over. For the first time in years, she is genuinely happy. She leans in close, her hand resting on his. Then, a blinding flash of gunpowder, a deafening crack, and the man she loves slumps forward. Mary doesn't just lose her husband that night. She is soaked in his blood. She is trapped in that claustrophobic balcony, screaming in terror as the assassin leaps to the stage. She holds her dying husband as his life drains away, surrounded by a panicked, chaotic crowd. The trauma is immediate. It is absolute. For days, Mary refuses to leave her room, pacing the floors, wailing so loudly the staff at the White House are terrified. The press doesn't offer sympathy. They call her dramatic, unstable, hysterical. But Mary wasn't just grieving a husband. She was a woman whose mind had been violently fractured, and the cracks were only just beginning to show. The universe wasn't done breaking Mary Todd Lincoln. Imagine being a mother and watching your children die, one by one. First was little Eddie, gone at just 3 years old. Then came Willie, her brightest light. He died inside the White House, while a massive political party raged downstairs. Mary never recovered. She locked herself away and wore black for the rest of her life. And then, the final, crushing blow. Tad, the boy who held her hand through the darkest days of her widowhood, dead at 18. 3 coffins, 3 pieces of her soul, buried in the dirt. Out of 4 boys, only 1 son was left standing, Robert. And Robert watched his mother slowly unravel under the sheer weight of outliving her own family. He saw her uncontrollable weeping, he saw her crippling fear. But instead of pulling her back from the edge of the abyss, Robert started taking notes. Mary couldn't accept that her husband and 3 boys were just gone, so she went looking for them in the dark. She plunged headfirst into the Victorian occult underground, a shadow world of mediums, scam artists, and charlatans waiting to bleed vulnerable, grieving widows dry. And Mary was the ultimate price. She hosted secret seances in dimly lit parlors. She sat in pitch black rooms, listening to disembodied knocks, desperate for just one more whisper from Abraham. She paid absolute fortunes to spirit photographers, clever hustlers who swore they could capture the ghosts of her dead family on glass plates. She was bleeding money, chasing phantoms. To Mary, this wasn't madness. It was the only way to survive the grief. But the press caught wind of it. The vicious whispers started. The former First Lady was losing her grip on reality. And her only surviving son, Robert. He wasn't about to let a grieving mother ruin the Lincoln name. Robert Todd Lincoln wasn't a man who believed in ghosts. He believed in legacy, and he believed in control. And his mother was losing both. Mary wasn't just grieving. She was spiraling, binge shopping for extravagant dresses she would never wear, buying endless pairs of gloves, carrying tens of thousands of dollars in cash sewn directly into her clothes out of pure, terrifying paranoia. Robert watched the Lincoln name being dragged through the mud, the whispers in Chicago high society, the mounting debts. But he didn't sit his mother down for a heart-to-heart. He didn't try to comfort the woman who had lost 3 sons and a husband. Instead, he treated her like a criminal. Robert went behind Mary's back and hired the Pinkerton National Detective Agency. Yes, the ruthless shadow operatives famous for hunting down outlaws. He paid them to stalk his own mother, to follow her through the streets, to document her every move, her every purchase, her every single erratic conversation. He wasn't trying to save her. He was building a cage. May 19th, 1875, the trap finally snaps shut. Mary is resting in her hotel room when there is a sudden knock at the door. It isn't a friend, it's 2 men, and one of them is an attorney. They look the former First Lady of the United States in the eye and tell her she is required in court right now. There is no warning. No time to prepare a defense. She is marched straight into a Chicago courtroom, and the sight waiting for her is a betrayal she never saw coming. Leading the charge to declare her a lunatic, sitting right there in the open, is Robert. For 3 agonizing hours, Mary is forced to sit in absolute silence. She listens as Pinkerton detectives read her private, broken life out loud to a jury of total strangers. She watches doctors who have barely spoken to her swear under oath that she is utterly insane. But the final, crushing blow is watching her only living son take the stand. He weeps as he tells the jury he has no choice, that his mother's mind is entirely gone. It takes the jury less than 10 minutes to agree. With the bang of a gavel, Mary Todd Lincoln is legally stripped of her freedom. The doors of Bellevue Place locked firmly behind her. This wasn't a dungeon. There were no rusted chains or padded rooms. Bellevue Place was an asylum for the elite, a gilded cage, built specifically for wealthy women whose families needed them to quietly disappear. But for Mary, the luxurious curtains and quiet gardens couldn't hide the horrifying truth. She was a prisoner, stripped of her money, stripped of her rights, handed over to doctors who saw her grief as a disease. Every night, the woman who once commanded the White House sat alone in a locked room, haunted by the ghosts of her husband and her 3 dead boys, and tormented by the ultimate betrayal. Robert had her money now. He had total control. Mary realized the terrifying reality of her sentence. She wasn't sent to this asylum to recover. She was sent here to be buried alive. But Robert made one fatal mistake. He forgot exactly who his mother was. Robert thought he had silenced the widow of Abraham Lincoln. He was dead wrong. Mary didn't just weep in the dark. She plotted. She wrote letters. Desperate, furious letters. She hid them in her clothes, waiting for the perfect moment. Whenever a sympathetic friend was allowed past the gates, Mary secretly slipped the letters into their hands. Soon, those letters landed exactly where Robert feared most. The newspapers. The headlines exploded. The First Lady of the United States held hostage. A prisoner of a greedy, ambitious son who just wanted her money. The public outrage was a relentless firestorm. Robert was publicly humiliated and completely outmaneuvered. He was forced to back down. After just 4 months in the dark, the doors of Bellevue Place swung open. Mary was free, but the Lincoln family was shattered forever. Mary never forgave him. She spent her final years in self-imposed exile, carrying her ghosts and the bitter, agonizing sting of a son's betrayal. So, ask yourself, was Mary Todd Lincoln truly a madwoman, or was she simply a shattered, grieving mother, violently discarded by the one person left to protect her? History is written by the survivors, but the truth is always much darker. If you want to uncover more buried secrets and relentless historical horrors, hit that subscribe button right now.